Hi, I'm really sorry because of some lack of memory I could not able to conduct our first video, but now I'll just conduct with this session again. I will make sure that furthermore there will be no like into a part this series of lectures. There will be one continuous lecture. So just pardon me for that. So what we learn about the president till now, that under Article 52 to under Article 78 there is executive government. In the constitution there is a president, there is a vice president, prime minister, also attorney general of India, and council of ministers. All of them makes the part of executive. We learn that with the president, election of the president, there is both the houses, that is Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, that is parliament, and also from the state legislative assemblies, elected member become the part of electoral office, or maybe become the part of the election of the president. Also we learn that between the, if president's election get challenged into Supreme Court, the final decision or final verdict of the Supreme Court is binding on the president, the election of the president, and that may be nullified. And this decision is a final decision. Also, we learn that in between of this duration, whatever decision has made by president is come into the force. So of course it does not make a devoid of that decision. So whatever decision has made it during that particular time, that all the decision comes into force. What was the next one? The qualification of the president was again very important. We learned that he have to be a citizen of India. He should have completed the age of 35. We also learned that he should have the qualification to become the member of Lok Sabha. Please remember that it is a Lok Sabha, because in the perspective of the vice president, he has to be a member of Rajya Sabha. We also learn that who gives oath to president, he is the Chief Justice of India, CJI. Yes, this is very important. And if CJI is absent, then whoever is a senior most judge into the Supreme Court, he gives oath to president. Till now, this was a very important thing. So furthermore, we have just stuck with the point of conditions of president's office. As I already told you that he should not be the member of either house of the parliament. He should not be the member of legislature, what we say, Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. Also, if he get elected as a president, he have to make the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha's membership devoid. He should not be the member of any of this house. This question has already asked into UPSC. Furthermore, this is extremely important. The statement, I'll read this. He is immune from any criminal proceeding, even though it is on the personal sake. And second is, he should get a 2 months notice if he has made something into wrong into a civil proceeding. This is very important. If a person get elected as a president, during that time, whatever criminal activities or criminal proceeding he will do, or maybe civil proceeding, he should not get arrested. So he is immune from all of this factor. This is again very important topic in the perspective of framing of the MCQs. Okay, so what are the terms impeachment and vacancy? So in the term of the president's office, so of course, as we know, he get elected as a president for 5 years. Also, he can be a president n number of time. It's not there that much of the privilege is not there with the USS president. He can become a president for just twice. Okay, but re-election in the president of Indian context is n number of time. So again, very important is that he gives his resignation letter to vice president. I told you that the oath is given by Chief Justice of India, and if he is not there, then maybe a senior most member of the Supreme Court. And the resignation letter is actually given to vice president, not to CGI. Please remember that. This is very important. Factual things. See, if I'm teaching you at this moment, you may find it out like, okay, it's not that difficult. It's not that cliche that we can able to recall it any number of time. But during the exam, sometime we just, how much time we will revise it, number of time we'll recall it. Sometime it tends to be, we just get confused. Please remember, the oath is given by Chief Justice of India, and resignation letter is given to vice president. This is very important. And also one of the important point is that he has to qualify as a member of Lok Sabha. No relation with the Rajya Sabha, because this is concerned with the vice president. Now, very important part is impeachment of the president. Now, why this point is important? Because impeachment is, in a simple way, it is a removal. But in the on the line of removal of the president, impeachment word has been used, because this is really a supremely amazing procedure where something is different than other officials or government officials removal. So just remember, impeachment is just a removal. But we'll just take an example. If ex president is there, suppose late one of my favorite a person in my life is Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. So he was the president of a country. So let's remove of their we'll just try to make it into a little more subtle manner. So if you wanted to remove or impeach to Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, then how it will be started? Remember, from any house, it means that from the parliaments, any house, it could be from Lok Sabha or maybe Rajya Sabha, the impeachment can started. So if we start that impeachment or the removal procedure from the Lok Sabha, it has to be just signed. I'm saying that it has to be signed by 1/4 of the member, that is 25% members of that house, total house of course, has to sign on that paper that yes, we are ready to start the impeachment procedure. Now, on the second time, when actually the resolution passes, that has to be passed with the special majority that we learn, that is the 2/3 members are present and voting. Okay, this is a special majority. So when it has started, it has to be passed by 1/4 of the members. And when actually impeachment procedure has started, there has to be signed by 2/3 of the members, that is a special majority of the house. So remember, impeachment is a quasi-judicial procedure. It means for removal of the president, we does not approach to Supreme Court. We just started from the parliament, but of course to give justice is the work of or the duty of the Supreme Court, but it is done by the parliament. It is known as a quasi-judicial procedure. Again, very important. Now, for the prelims perspective, remember that for the impeachment of the president, state legislature does not involve, only parliament, that is that is Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha's elected and nominated members become the part of impeachment of the president. Please make sure, I'll revise it again. With appointment, we take all the elected member from Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and state legislative assemblies. Okay, only elected members from all three houses. But for the removal, we are just taking Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha's elected as well as nominated member. This is somehow very favorite questions of all the competitive examinations that appears throughout the our exam preparation duration. Okay, this is, remember, this impeachment procedure is not easy. So till now, there is no president has been impeached from India. Okay, so till now this is very important. Now, vacancy in the president house. So vacancies means maybe he is absent, maybe because of his death he could not able to conduct the further office, or maybe he is ill, whatever, or maybe he has given the resignation. There could be any reason. So again, remember that how the office vacancy can be created. First, if the election of the president office is delayed, that could be possible. So remember, when the election of the president's election is delayed, then Vice President act as president and does all the work as get all the power as like a president. I told you in the first condition was if the election get delayed. Now the second condition is that if he gives a resignation, if president gives a resignation, or maybe he removed, that is impeached, then who will be in that office? Then here also vice president, here vice president will act as a president. Remember that first condition we said that if there is a delay in the president election, then whoever be the present president, example, if APJ Abdul Kalam is going to retire or get the time duration is going to over in next month, okay, so the election has started now today, okay, or maybe after a month election has started, till the next president join the office of president, during that whole time present president will act as a president, okay, ongoing president will act as a president. Second condition, if resignation is given or maybe impeachment is done, then this condition vice president will take charge of presidentship. Third condition, if president is absent or ill, then also vice president act as a president, and whatever decision are taken by vice president in the house of the president, all are valid and has the same form as like a president, okay. So these are very important. So three things we have to remember. First is if there is a delay in the president's election, second is if there is impeachment or resignation, and third is if he is ill and cannot able to conduct the further office. These are again very important. And again remember, if vice president is also not present, or maybe he is also ill, or maybe that voice itself is void, then Chief Justice of India will take care of that office. And if again CJI is not present, in that case senior most judge of the Supreme Court will take care of the office. Now, a very important further topic into president is powers and functions of the president. As I told you, there are a number of powers president has, that is executive power, legislature power, financial power, military power. There could be emergency power, diplomatic power, judicial power. The number of powers is there. So first is executive power. So he just, as I already told you, that all executive actions of the government of India is formally taken by the name of the president. So whatever action is done by Council of Ministers headed by Prime Minister, everything is actually taken in the name of president, because he is the really executive officer of our government. So what are those powers to president? First is he appoints the Prime Minister, very very important. Of course, he don't have discretionary power, but in some cases he get that discretionary power. But he appoint the Prime Minister. He also appoint the UPSC chairman. He also appoint finance minister under Article 380 that we need to go. Also, he appoints the Controller and Auditor General CAG. He also appoint the Attorney General of India, AGI. He also appoint the Interstate Council's chairman under Article 263 that we also gone through. He also appoint SC/ST's commission's chairman is also appointed by president. Remember everything, each and every bit of the executive power of the president is important. Second power is a legislative power. Again, president has some legislative power. Example, he summons the house of the Lok Sabha. Okay, whenever there is a first session of the Lok Sabha, he address the first, every session of the parliament is addressed by the president. This is a very important legislative power of the president. He also appoint any member. If in the Lok Sabha speaker is absent, or maybe speaker has not elected, or maybe he has resignation is given, whatsoever be the condition, if the vacate of the speaker's position, then president appoint any member from the Lok Sabha as a speaker. Please remember, this question also has asked in UPSC examination. Any member. I am not saying any senior most member. I am just saying that any member from the Lok Sabha can be appointed as a speaker by president. On the same line, with the chairman as well, if the deputy chairman position or the post is vacant in the Rajya Sabha, then also get appointed by the president. Remember, I didn't say it like a chairman, because chairman is a vice president. I said it deputy chairman of the Rajya Sabha. If that house is vacant, it is filled up by president and he appoints any member from the Rajya Sabha on the same line with the Lok Sabha. Again, very important is that he appoints 12 members. Those have some special qualification from maybe art, culture, or education, science, or maybe social service as a nominated member into Rajya Sabha. Those are 12 members, and 2 members into, also nominated by president, into Lok Sabha. Those are especially Anglo-Indians. So these nominated members are not part during the election. Can you imagine? I am only, like, if I am in president, if I am only elected to somebody as my member or maybe a nominated member and gives them power to elect me further. This is not the way the election has to be made. So it has to be impartial. So because of that, during the presidential election, we does not get include the nominated member. Just during the impeachment, nominated members are become the part of electoral process. Now again, very important is that if he decides the disqualification of the member of the parliament, that could be from Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, during that phase, if he feels that a particular member is not working according to constitution or violating the house's rules, then he asks to election commission. He get a recommendation from election commission. He consult with election commission and then disqualify that particular member. I said it is a election commission, not a speaker, not a chairman. Okay, please remember these small words only asked by UPSC number of time. Then any bill has to be introduced into house before the recommendation of the president. If you want to introduce any bill into the parliament, that has to be previously permitted by the president. Of course, this is also a very important power. Again, example is like if an expenditure from the Consolidated Fund of India, then we have to introduce the bill. Okay, we have to introduce the bill that we want emergency money from Consolidated Fund of India. So what is Consolidated Fund of India? I will teach you in parliamentary lectures. There is a different contingency fund, consolidated fund, and so many funds are there with the parliament. So if we want to remove some money from the Consolidated Fund of India, previous permission of the president has to be taken and also get consulted to them, and then the bill is actually put in the house, Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. Also remember, if a bill has to alter the boundaries of the state or maybe change in the name or maybe to creation of the new state, that bill has to be first of all asked to president and then only put in the parliament. Again, those are very, very important topics. Just with the perspective of money bill, president has a very special power. Remember that. When the bill is sent to the president after it has been passed to a parliament. Okay, sorry, keep that topic aside. Now what will happen if that particular bill, suppose this is a bill which is in the hand of president. Now he has 3 choices to make. This is a bill. Suppose this bill is to formation of the new state, and that bill after passing from the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha came to me, and now if I sign on this bill will become an act. So there will be 3 different powers in the hand of president. First is he can withhold this bill with me. I can withhold this bill. I will not pass this bill at all. And I will not make this act. I'll just withhold this bill. Or maybe I'll send that back to the houses. Okay. And what we learn in the 44th Amendment Act is that if house again send that to me, I have to close my eyes and sign on this bill. Very simple, right? So first thing is that he can withhold this bill with himself. He may return the bill, okay, or maybe he will give assent on the bill, right? So first, if he'll give the assent, this bill will become act, or maybe he will withhold this bill and this bill will not frame an act, or maybe he can return this bill to houses and ask them to recheck it. This something is wrong. I am feeling something is wrong. Please make it correct and then send that to me. But we learned that in the 44th Amendment Act that if again the Council of Minister or a Parliament send that to me back, I have to close my eyes and sign on this bill, right? So there are three conditions, three things happens with the bill. First, it comes to President. He can sign on this bill and the bill will become an act, or he will withhold this bill, or in third condition, he will return that bill to any houses. I hope you are making it clear. Just one thing to clear, I'm just trying to explain you so many things. But if you're not able to understand, don't get worried at all. I will be teaching some or other way because of lack of time, and because of, as we know that we're suffering so much because of and COVID. I hope you all are taking care of yourself and not going anywhere. Unfortunately, I could not even able to buy a newspaper today and yesterday, and I strictly just like avoided to go out. Honestly, I don't want to miss my newspaper and conduct your sessions. That's because of my study as well. I'm really running out of time. I'm just trying to manage my time as much as possible. But my duty is to conduct and complete as much as possible syllabus, and we just left with the polity. I hope that you are revising the previous subject, especially geography, history, art and culture, medieval history, economics, environment, and international relations and current affairs and everything, and of course solving number of question papers. I know that polity is somehow you may find it little tricky, but while I'm just delivering my lecture, I'm trying to make it as possible as to the point of UPSC preparation. I'm not saying that you to remember a lot of things, because we have completed almost 4 pages of whatever I have conducted within this 20 minutes. This is probably not possible even to read it, just even to go and flip the pages and just read the headline to yourself. I'm just trying to explain you as much as possible from my side, and wherever I'm emphasizing and giving little weird expression, remember that all of these points are really, really important, because these are the questions that has asked by UPSC or some other examination, or maybe into the mock test, or maybe somewhere I have made it wrong. So I know that these are the things, those are very important. So going back, we learned that once any bill comes to president, what he can do is that he can basically give assent and this bill become act. Another, he can withhold this bill, or maybe he can send that bill to the Council of Ministers or maybe Parliament. Okay, now remember that if this is the money bill, then he can not return that to Lok Sabha. If this is a money bill, he have to give assent or he have to withhold the bill. He cannot return the money bill. There are n number of different type of bills. There is ordinary bill, there is a money bill, this and that. With the perspective of money bill, he does not have power to return to the Lok Sabha. Why? Because I told you that money bill is actually made and framed before consultation of the president itself. So, pehle we have asked to president, shall we frame this bill? And then we don't need to take it further permission, right? This is something is like too tricky to remember. Okay, again, here remember that, as I told you that he can send that bill back to the Council of Ministers or maybe Parliament. But if that bill is passed by a Parliament, if that bill is passed by state legislature, then there is no need to give that assent once it come back again. You know what we learn in the 44th Amendment. If the bill come back to the President from the Council of Ministers, he have to close his eyes and sign on the bill. But this has to be just passed by a Parliament, not by state legislature. If state legislature pass it again and again and again, he can return it back number of times, because this is not obligation of President if that bill is from the state legislature or state government. Again, important. Okay. Now, financial power of the president. This is again very important. First of all, money bill. As I already told you that the money bill can be introduced in the parliament by the previous consent of the president. Very important. Second, budget. The budget is laid before the parliament by president. Okay, budget is that Nirmala Sitharaman actually carries the budget, right, with herself. So that budget is actually laid down in the parliament by the president. Very important. Again, according to Article 275, remember, demand of grant. What is demand of grant? I once in a current affairs lecture I mentioned about that. Demand of grant is something when Finance Commission also gives money to state government. In the 15th Finance Commission, there is a 41% of the money has to be distributed between among the states. Why not 42%? Because now Jammu Kashmir become the union territories. It's not a state now, so that 1% reduced now. So there is a finance commission which actually disburses this money between the states, or if in case of some emergencies, grant in aid is provided to the states. Like if there is a coronavirus is there and extreme worse than in particular state, then that state can demand that money to president or ask to parliament to give some extra money to that particular state. Here, the demand for grant can be made except on his recommendation. His recommendation is must here under according to Article 275. So remember, demand for grants is very important. Again, contingency fund from if president if any state central government wanted to remove some money from contingency fund, here again president's permission is required. Of course, he appoint the finance commission, as I already told you that under Article 280 he appoint the finance commissioner. Okay, and furthermore finance commission, we'll learn it in the further lectures. This was the financial power. What are the financial power? 4-5 financial powers is there. First is money bill is actually introduced in the parliament by the permission of the president. Then second thing we learned that budget is actually introduced. He caused to be laid before the parliament an annual financial statement, that is a budget. Third is grant in aid, or we say a demand for grant. So not a grant in aid, it is a demand for grant. For that also we need a permission of the president. Then finance commission's chairmans get appointed by the president. And then contingency fund, if the money wanted to remove from the contingency fund, is also before need the permission of the president. Now next power to president is the judicial power. Very, very important. Remember, Chief Justice of India and different judges in the Supreme Court, and also High Court, Chief Justice of High Court appointed by president. Very important. Okay. Also, according to Article 143, remember this article is very important. This article also asked by UPSC once. Under Article 143, president can seek advice from Supreme Court. Okay, he can, if some constitution article, if president is not able to interpret, then he will give call to Chief Justice of India or maybe Supreme Court that please, I need your help. I'm not able to interpret that particular case or maybe particular article. Will you please help me out? Under Article 143, it is obliged to Supreme Court to help it out to president. Just remember, but those are cases or maybe article after the independence, not before the independence. Supreme Court, president cannot give call to Supreme Court and ask them, can you please help me out the case which was happening in 1900 or maybe 1857. Here, Supreme Court is not obliged to help to president, but after 1947, after independence, whatever cases that or maybe articles or maybe any constitutional things that president is not able to interpret, he can give call to Supreme Court and ask, can you please help me out? Under Article 143. Very important. We also learn the trick from this article. I'm not going to go back again. But remember, this advice that is given by Supreme Court is not binding on president. Of course, not binding. I just ask you something and whatever opinion that is given by you is of course not binding on you. I was just in doubt and just ask you about it. Okay. Now, diplomatic power. This is again the next power of the president. In a simple manner, we can just say that all international treaties and agreement are negotiated and concluded on behalf of the president. If we say, if you're giving some land to Bangladesh, or maybe trying to get involved into NPT, or maybe are getting a permanent membership into United Nations of Security Council, something like that. So that everything is done on behalf of the president, not the prime minister, because president is the head of. Okay. Military power. Okay, again military power, as we know that he's the commander chief of all three wings, like air force and army and navy. He is the supreme commander of all of these three forces. Very, very important. And he can declare war. Of course, war is declared by president, not by defense minister. Defense minister asks to president to declare the war. This is again a very important function of president. And also conclude the peace and subject of approval of the parliament. Okay, no problem. Emergency power. We learned that under Article 352 there is a national emergency when there is a war, external aggression, armed rebellion happen. Then under Article 352 he can put a national emergency. I also made it clear to you at that time how to remember these tricks and everything. Again, we learned that under Article 356 and 365 there is a precedent rule, or known as a state emergency. And also under Article 360 there is a financial emergency. We learned a little bit about it. So this is also done by the president himself. So now veto power of the president. Now this is very important. Okay, what is the veto power of the president? Remember, veto power is something, I'll give an example. There are 4 veto power to the president. First is an absolute veto. Second is pocket veto. Third is suspensive veto. And fourth is qualified veto. Now remember, this qualified veto is not associated or not given to Indian president. It's there with the American president. So we don't need to go much into depth. So let's start with the leftover power. That is absolute power, absolute veto, suspensive veto and pocket veto. So I'll give you a very simple trick and frame something is very easy for you to understand. So even the people those are preparing since many years cannot able to remember these veto powers, and there is always one or other way the question has asked by UPSC. So make it clear now, and in the book it has been given